Hello everybody, this is Christian from iCrack.com, and I'm going to attempt to do a water damage repair on an iPhone 4S. This phone actually fell into a porta potty. The girl who owned it said she snatched it out of there pretty quick, and she actually took it apart thinking that she might be able to fix it herself, but realized that she was in overhead and then called me to help her out. So some of the parts are already removed, so I'm just going to start from here. So yeah, the screws for the battery are already out. So what you do, y'all know that the solder joints on these battery terminals on the logic board is really fragile. So you want to make sure you get all the screws out. And you want to kind of wedge in. You want to go in and down instead of like prying it up. That way you can make sure that you don't break that terminal there. Always pry from the battery on the outside of the phone so as not to damage the logic board. And set it aside. Like I said, some of the parts were already missing because the girl who owns the phone already had it apart. So we're just going to go from wherever she left off. Alright, when we're removing these connections here, I've heard that a lot of people are knocking off components of the logic board. I found the easiest, safest way to be sure not to do any damage is to simply just use your thumbnail. That way you're sure not to gouge anything. Because you can feel it. To tear that little connection when I'm just doing a screen repair. But since we're doing the water damage, I'll go ahead and get it out of the way. And just simply pry it up. Okay, the next step you want to do is remove the shields by getting in between the logic board and the shield. And you just want them up with it. And sometimes they'll go flying, but that's okay. This one you can only get half of the shield up. This one is on there so you can't remove it. Also get the ones from the bottom. And then what you want to do, I always start, is I get a close look at the logic board under my microscope. And see if I can spot any corrosion. So I'll know where the problem areas are to focus on. I see some there. So what I'll do is I'll even take a photo of it with my phone. I'll edit these into the video later on. Oops, I gotta turn the flash off. So this one doesn't look so bad. There's just a few spots that have some greenish looking corrosion on it. So I've already taken a measuring cup and I've measured out like half a cup of 91% alcohol and like less than a quarter of a cup of distilled water. I've warmed it in the microwave for about 30 seconds and now I'm going to put it into my ultrasonic cleaner. Doesn't have to be a whole lot, just enough to cover the logic board. And I'm going to do what's called a degas by setting it on 380 and turning it on. After that's degassed, I'll turn the video back on. Okay guys, we're back. I've allowed the solution to degas in the ultrasonic cleaner for 380 seconds. Now all I have to do is simply place the logic board in. And what I do is I get a little bit of the solution into a glass. And I put the logic board in. And I run it for another 380 seconds. And while that's degassing, I take and go over the ribbon connections inside the midframe and also make sure I get the camera because I can see that there's some corrosion right there. So what I'll do is I'll put it underneath my microscope and I'll take a soft toothbrush and some of the solution and just kind of clean everything up. This toothbrush is really soft. I get them from the drugstore. You get like 3 for like $1.50. So they're super soft and they last forever. So just kind of hold the camera, take some of the toothbrush and just brush and clean. And if you have a microscope, it makes it a lot easier because you can really see how the corrosion just disappears. You can get every little nook and cranny. And you can also see, you know, if there's damage to the logic board, you'll know right away. And it kind of gives you an idea of whether or not you think it's going to work or not. So I've got that nice and clean. I'm just going to set it aside. And then I'm going to clean all the ribbon cables underneath the inside the midframe. So I've got all the ribbon cables up here at the top of the phone. I also want to scrub inside of the dot connector. And keep in mind that if, after I put it back together, if it's not working properly, I can always replace this. always go back over everything a few times just to be sure you got it good and clean. And even clean the little parts of the vibrator. Now actually I just noticed right here where the home button plugs in, it's kind of green too. So what I'll do is I'll disconnect it and scrub inside there as well. Alright, so everything in there is as clean as I can get it. So I will set it aside. Now that the logic board is finished in here, I'll get it. And it'll be warm because I warmed up the solution in the microwave at first, and then the vibration of the ultrasonic cleaner warms it up even more. So I'll put it back underneath the microscope and I'll continue scrubbing to make sure everything is clean. You want to be real gentle with the logic board because you don't want to knock any of these little components off, and they are very delicate. You just want to scrub it, you want to scrub it good, but be ginger at the same time. And the great thing about having the microscope is I can see where I need to put in a little extra elbow grease. I can see underneath the battery there's definitely some corrosion under there. I'm going to try to get that as clean as I can. Because that corrosion is probably what was keeping it from coming on.